Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Nick Tan Chats, my magic and mostly mentalism review show. My name is Nick Tan, and on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about something called hypermnesia. So hi again guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for showing up, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for spending some time with me today. So a little while ago, Sebastian Macaque got in touch with me and asked if I would like to have a look at this item called hypermnesia. Okay, now I've previously reviewed I think 2 items from Sebastian, namely topics as well as ACAT. So having done those 2 review items, I kind of knew that this would be another kind of app-based thing, right? And every time I'm kind of approached to do an app-based product review, I'm always a little hesitant because I'm not that great with apps. I'm not that great with using them, setting them up, performing with them. But for this particular one, I looked at the trailer and I immediately fell in love with the effect. So before we get into what the effect is for hypermnesia, I just thought I'd mention the creators of the effect, right? The names of the people who were involved in this project, right? So I think the original idea came from a gentleman named, and I'm going to mess up the pronunciation, but I'll do my best, Pierre Feodor. I think that's how it's pronounced, all right? We'll call him Pierre. And then the developer for the app itself is a gentleman named Bassem Alani. Okay, and then Sebastian actually was the one who did up the private version apparently for Pierre. Okay, so those are the guys that are involved in this project. So let me tell you the effect for hypermnesia, okay, because when I first saw the trailer for the effect, I immediately fell in love with it, because I thought it was just so clever and so believable as well, and it kind of fits in with the kind of character that I would like to give my audiences, who watch my performances. So what happens is you bring out your phone and you explain to the spectators, right, that we've got so many contacts, phones these days, right, and nobody remembers anybody's phone numbers anymore. However, you being a mentalist, I suppose you have this super memory and you're able to kind of recall anybody's number in your phone book. So you show your phone and then you scroll through all the contacts, right? And then even if you were performing this for your friends, they can search for their contact in the list and they will see that their number is there, right? It's correct, okay? So they can scroll through, they can see a few numbers here and there and it's all different, and then you begin the effect, okay? You hand them the phone, they can scroll through and you tell them to click on any name, okay? So they click on a name, and without looking at the screen, right? There's no peeking or anything like that. You're not wearing anything else, okay? Without anything like that, you immediately regurgitate the telephone number or the mobile number of the named person on the phone. And of course, that bears repetition, right? So, you tell them to exit the screen and again, search for another number. They do that, they click into it, they tell you the name of the person. You can now tell them the mobile number of the person, the home number of the person, and if there's an email address there as well, you can tell them the email address as well. They exit the screen, they can choose another person at random, they tell you the name, and then you tell them immediately, their mobile number and email address maybe again. And then if there's a birthday there as well, you can tell them the birthday of the selected person as well. You can do this for another once or twice more, and then you propose one final test, okay? So at the top of the contacts screen, there is a search bar. So you now tell them, key in any sequence of 3 numbers, okay? Because what happens is when you key in a number, for example, 3, 4, 5, the phone brings up all the contacts, the names of the contacts, whose mobile number, whose contact numbers contain 3, 4, 5, right? It doesn't matter where it is in their number, as long as it has that sequence, the name will appear, right? So they do that, right? They search for any 3-digit number and they tell you the numbers that they have searched for, right? So for example, they search for 456 and now on screen, they've got a whole bunch of names that have appeared. So from here, without peeking, you can now tell them the names of all the people on the screen, okay, whom apparently have the number sequence 456 in their contact number. And that is the effect, okay? It's a super memory demonstration done with your contacts list, okay? And again, it is super believable. It looks great. It just floors people, as to the kind of information that you can remember and recall that quickly. So what do you get when you purchase Hypermnesia? When you first go in, you'll be asked to kind of set up an account, okay, because this is a web-based app. Okay, and it's available for both iOS as well as Android. So once you set up your account, there will be a tutorial video that's made available to you. It's about half an hour long, and on that video itself, it will take you through exactly how to set it up, and how to configure everything according to your liking, and then how to perform the effect as well. So everything is really clear, really simple, and really easy to understand. So when you perform Hypermnesia, the names, right, that are used in the context list are really the names that are in your phone book. Okay, they are in your contacts list. Okay, so it's a really simple way of kind of customizing that. It's really quick, it's really fast. You don't have to type in 300 contacts into the app itself, right? It all happens for you kind of automatically, once you've set it up correctly. And then comes the question about how difficult this is to perform, right? Because ironically, an effect that demonstrates memory, people don't want to use memory, right? So it's really simple. You can just use any kind of numbers, things like that you already know by heart, okay? And I'm sure you can recall maybe like 5 numbers, 5 sets of numbers. That's not a problem for you. You can recall 1 or 2 people's birthdays, some important dates of the year that are, mean something to you. And of course, you can kind of create, email addresses and stuff like that, other details in the contact card that, are fictitious, but are easily committed to memory, okay? So as long as you can remember, I don't know, 5, 6 things, which you probably already have in your mind anyway, you will have no problems performing Hypermnesia. So what I like about Hypermnesia is that it feels really natural, to use the phone in this context to demonstrate memory, right? And in these days, right, we've got so many contacts, right, numbers and stuff that we don't know anymore, and they're all just stored in the phone. People's numbers are, they don't register at all with us. Everybody is just like a name in your phone, right? We don't think about their numbers at all. Back when I was a kid, right, I could memorize, like 7, 8 numbers, right? Numbers of best friends, phone numbers, contacts, mom and dad and stuff like that. But these days, it's really difficult, right? We don't pay attention to these things anymore. So I think this really kind of makes it a really nice and kind of natural demonstration of a super memory. And I'm not one to use my phone very much during performing, right? When I'm performing, I don't really use like visible tech that much. But this is something I think I can see myself performing. In fact, I've done it once already, just last night actually at my bar show, and I really enjoyed it. It was fun to perform. Well, it created a problem, okay, which I'll tell you about at the end of this video. But the performance itself was really so convincing, and it just seems so natural, right? They just scroll through the phone book, the contact list, they click on one, they tell you the name that they've stopped on, and you can tell them the number of that person. And it was just so convincing. I felt it was just really so real, and they really believed me that I could really do it. And also, something else I like is that the effect is quite hands-off, because you don't need to touch your phone at all. You can, just once they understand what to do, right, with the contacts list, you can safely hand them the phone and they can handle it, right, and just follow along with your instructions, okay? So, obviously some audience management is still, required, okay, but I don't think it's that difficult, right? It's done hands-off. Give them some instructions, they follow along, and you will be able to deliver the effect quite smoothly. And because it is hands-off and you've done the work already beforehand, there's no peeking, right? There's no peeking, there's no real-time work that you need to do. Everything is done like way before the effect even begins. And you can also customize the kind of information that you reveal as well, and the sequence that you reveal it in. Because, we as performers, we want our acts to kind of escalate, so you can, for example, just choose the first name. Whoever they choose, you can reveal just, a mobile number. They exit, they choose another name, and this other name, maybe they have the mobile number and also the landline number, right? And then they choose a third name, and maybe this third name you can choose, to reveal the mobile number, the date of birth of the person, and also an email address. So you can just customize all these little details in whatever sequence you want, and in whatever number combination you want as well, right? As I mentioned, so that everything is just easily, remembered by you. And the interface is really easy to use. It looks exactly like your phone's contact list, your phone book, right? So there's really nothing to learn per se. There is a kind of just one little thing that you need to do during the performance to kind of trigger the effect to begin, but that's easily, remember, just run through it a couple of times and you will have no problems performing the effect. But again, all in, I think this is an incredible idea. I highly recommend this if you enjoy performing memory feats, of this sort, right? It's a really natural thing to use. People relate to the theme, of numbers and names and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it's a really simple method and the effect is just really, really strong. So I ran into a little problem last night, right? So I performed this at my bar show really early on in the show, just as a quick way to kind of build rapport and stuff. And they really were floored by the effect, they just believed that I could really do this. And then one of them said, at this point, if we were to give you all our names and all of our mobile numbers, would you be able to recall them by heart and tell all of us our numbers? And obviously I can't, right? But so this kind of thing, because it's so clean and so amazing, I think people just kind of believe that you can do it and they will just want to challenge you and just see the extent of your powers, right? So well, yeah, you do need to kind of take that into consideration, because having this kind of thing, so clean and so strong, and people do really believe you can do it and they want to challenge you with something, and it wouldn't make sense that you couldn't do it, because you just demonstrated it, right? So that's just something to think about. But again, all in, the highest recommendation from me, Hypermnesia. If you enjoy memory-based effects and memory demonstrations, this kind of thing, I can recommend you pick this up. Okay, I want to thank Sebastian for really kindly letting me have a copy of this so that I can learn about it and actually now use it in my shows. If you'd like to pick up a copy of Hypermnesia for yourselves, I will leave the link in the description box down below. But that's all for today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the episode and got something out of it, and hopefully I've introduced you to something that you may not have been aware about. Till the next episode, guys, do stay safe, take care of yourselves, have fun with your magic and your mentalism, and I will see you on the next episode of Nique Chats.